Wonderful. My name is Roger. I'm the marketing director here at Crown Cruise Vacations, and we are wonderful friends and partners with Seabourn Cruise Line, who have a very exciting, wonderful product that is really about getting adventure into your life in a very luxurious way. And we've got Mark Spillane, who's with us to talk about this, and also our good friend, our business development manager for Seabourn, Jerilyn Giacone. She's gonna tell us all about this. And there's also gonna be some pretty special offers that are gonna happen that we're gonna share at the end of this presentation. So without further ado, Jerilyn, by all means, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Roger. And thank you so much for joining us to learn more about Seabourn's newest expedition ships. As Roger said, I'm Jerilyn Giacone, and I'm the key account sales manager for Seabourn, based in the Northeast United States. And I have the pleasure of working with Crown Cruise Vacations, and they're really knowledgeable advisors. And I do consider them friends as well. You're in great hands when you book and entrust your vacation with their advisors. And Seabourn enjoys a great partnership with Crown Cruise Vacations as one of our top agencies globally. So special thank you to you, Roger, for hosting this virtual event for Mark and I tonight. Before we explore the expedition world of Seabourn, I just want to tell you a little bit about our 5 ocean ships, if you're not familiar with us. We've been recognized as the world's best small ship luxury cruising for many, many years by various consumer and travel trade publications that you see there across the top. And they're voted on by our guests like you and our supportive travel advisors. So the ships are smaller. It's kind of hard to get perspective in this particular picture, but they're more intimate, beautifully appointed. However, our secret is our crew and onboard service team, and that's what makes our voyages so memorable and why we believe we're consistently voted world's best. So on board the ships, Mark, if you don't mind, switching to the next one, we're fully inclusive luxury on board. Again, a club-like atmosphere, more intimate, so it's more one-to-one service. In fact, it's almost a one-to-one guest to crew ratio. They're all ocean view suites, the majority with private veranda, and premium spirits, fine wines, champagne are freely poured no matter where you are on board at any time of day and night as the bars are open, and throughout your time in your suite. So guests get to stock some non-alcoholic beverages and a selection of spirits of your choice in all suite levels. And then the premium and owner suites come with upgraded selections as well, if you want to entertain new friends that you've made on board or invite other guests to join you. Tipping is neither required or expected. It's really part of the whole DNA, that high service touch that our onboard team is highly trained to deliver. And they're genuine and authentic, and it's a very caring and warmth atmosphere on board, so you don't feel any stuffiness at all. And they build strong bonds with our guests. There's many dining options, including a culinary partnership with Chef Thomas Keller, who has a specialty restaurant, The Grill, on board our 5 ocean ships at no additional charge. You may recognize his most popular land-based restaurants are French Laundry in Napa, California, Per Se in New York City, and he also has the French bistro Bouchon Bistro and Bakery at the Venetian Hotel in Vegas. So let's take a quick look at the fleet. And you will see that our 3 sister ships, the Seabourn Odyssey, Seabourn Sojourn, and Seabourn Quest, were really built right in a row from 2009 through 2011, with only 229 suites for 458 guests. And of those 229 suites, the majority, over 90% of them, do have private veranda. And then our 2 newer and a little bit bigger ocean ships are the Seabourn Encore and the Seabourn Ovation, with 300 suites for 600 guests. And again, we're so thrilled that you're joining us to learn about our 2 new expedition ships, the Seabourn Venture and the Pursuit. We've operated expedition voyages for many years, but now we're so excited to have purpose-built ships for this particular type of cruising. And it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague and friend, Mark Spillane, who's our Director of Expedition Sales. and he's going to share his knowledge and vast experience about Seabourn's new vessels and what really makes expedition voyages so special with Seabourn. So Mark, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Jerilyn. It's always a pleasure to join you and our valued travel partners at Crown Cruise Vacations. I also want to thank all of you who are tuning in. I know how valuable your time is, and I sincerely appreciate your time this evening to learn a bit more about Seabourn and our exciting new expedition ships. So as Jerilyn mentioned, I'm the Director of Expedition Sales here at Seabourn, and I thought I would just share a little bit about the ships, some features about the ships, and also, of course, some of the amazing destinations that we are sailing to. So first, I always like to start off with, just defining what expedition is, as it is a bit different from our ocean-going ships. And some of the differences are that the ships are typically smaller, like Seabourn Venture and Seabourn Pursuit. The itineraries are a bit more adventurous, like the Arctic, the Antarctic, deep into the Amazon or the Northwest Passage, just to name a few. Of course, these are really remote bucket list destinations that many are looking to experience without compromising the luxury travel side of the experience. We will, of course, explore many regions that few will ever see. We'll savor life-changing moments in these destinations. And these itineraries are really flexible, and they're curated to take advantage of sea conditions, wildlife sightings, ice conditions, and whatever these destinations have to offer. As I mentioned, these experiences are curated with the Seabourn signature style and service on our custom-built ultra-luxury vessels, which we'll take a look at now. So we were really excited. We had an amazing summer as we launched Seabourn Venture, our first expedition ship, and she launched July 27th and spent the summer exploring the Arctic regions of Svalbard, Iceland, Greenland, the Canadian Arctic, and is now currently making her way down to Ushuaia to do the Antarctic season next month. What's really great is these ships are pretty much identical in layout. Seabourn Venture, as I mentioned, was launched this summer. Seabourn Pursuit is scheduled to come out in October of 2023. And there's just 132 suites, all veranda, for 264 guests on board. We have 8 different dining and lounges on board. And of course, the hulls are PC6 strengthened, which I would just like to mention because you do see that. And that just means that the hull has been strengthened so we can operate in the Arctic and the Antarctic during those seasons. As Jerilyn mentioned, we, of course, have been doing expedition with Seabourn Quest for over 10 years. And so we've had this expertise in operations and what it really takes to have the perfect expedition vessel. And one of those things is, of course, having outdoor space. That's really where you want to be when we are sailing in these amazing destinations. So we have over 30,000 square feet from almost every single venue on board the ship. You can easily access the outdoors, which is fantastic. And of course, sailing in all these very remote destinations, we of course are taking into consideration environmental compliance, in many cases exceeding those requirements to ensure that we preserve these amazing destinations for years to come. So one of the first venues that when you step on board the Seabourn Venture is the Expedition Lounge that you'll see. It's really a warm and inviting lounge that kind of has a dual purpose. During the day when we're in expedition operation mode, it's a great place to throw on your parka and get ready to meet the expedition team to go down into the landing zone, which is our mud room, and then head out into the Zodiac for your experiences that day. Excuse me. And then, of course, coming back, we have our, come back into this area, and we'll have our team members on board with the hot chocolate or coffee, to warm up from being out in the cold, polar regions. And then in the evening, this becomes more of a lounge where we'll have one of our musical acts here that will, really put on a nice, background music to enjoy a cocktail. And it's really conveniently located right outside the restaurant and also outside of our Discovery Center, which I'll talk about in a moment. So it just works very well for the flow of your evening. Then, of course, we have the Discovery Center. This is located just forward of the Expedition Lounge. And this is where each evening our expedition team with the expedition leader will host the daily recap and briefing. And this will be for to explain, kind of what we experienced that day.
Hey, Mark.
Share.
Mark,
Yes.
I hate to interrupt. Could you maybe mute yourself and unmute yourself, because your microphone is super garbled?
Okay. One more.
All right. Want to try talking a little bit?
Any better with that?
So far, so good.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. So just talking about the Discovery Center here, it's a key place on board the ship. We have our expedition team with the expedition leader that will host the daily recap and briefing here. And that is to kind of go over what we experienced each day, and then also to talk about our plans for the following day. Here we'll also do lectures from the expedition team, from the experts, whether it's ornithologists, glaciologists, historians, navigational history. So a really, really important part of the expedition experience here in the Discovery Center. We also have a Cineflex camera on board. It's on the mast of the vessel. So if we see wildlife, like for example, I had the great pleasure to be on board the last Arctic voyage for Seabourn Adventure. And while we saw multiple sightings of polar bears, one of them was a bit farther away. So we turned on the Cineflex camera and was able to zoom right into the polar bear and put that live feed right here into the Discovery Center. And then we had our polar bear expert, that's part of the expedition team, on stage describing, what the bear is doing, their guess on the age and the sex of the bear, and describing some of its activities and rituals that it's doing. So it's a really great way to immerse the guests in the experience. And then, of course, the images from the Cineflex camera can also go into the in-suite guest TVs. So if you're in your suite, you can just turn on that channel for using it and enjoy it right there from the comfort of your suite. Some of the dining venues on board, of course, we have the restaurant. This is the main dining venue on board. It's really fantastic. It's open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All of our dining venues on board the ship are complimentary and do not require reservations. So it's a really fantastic go with the flow type of experience on board, which is really critical when you're doing a flexible expedition itinerary. And then we have the patio, which has our pool, which is in the aft of the vessel. Of course, we have 2 hot tubs here. The pool is heated for when we're up in the polar regions. And then we also have, looking on the opposite direction from the pool, we have the outdoor dining part of the Holiday restaurant. Here we'll also do our famous caviar in the surf, but on Venture when we're in the polar regions, we call it caviar in the ice, and we invite all our guests to put on their parka and come out to this area where they'll have caviar. All the staff and crew will be there. The captain's usually there, and it's a really nice outdoor event. Of course, the ceiling here is heated, so being from Miami, when I was out there, you could always find me underneath one of the heated panels there. So it really makes for a great space, whether we're in the polar regions or the warmer weather regions. If we go inside to the Colonnade, we have our second dining venue on board. This again is also open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and has rotating menus. And then for the evenings, select evenings throughout the voyage, we will rotate in Earth and Ocean, which is a concept that comes from our ocean ships. So there'll be an Earth and Ocean menu rotated throughout the voyage here for dinner. And then it's also, as I mentioned, open for breakfast and lunch, again, complimentary, no reservations required. Some of the lounges on board, we have the Constellation Lounge located all the way forward. This is a really great venue. During the day or the afternoon, we'll offer afternoon tea here. And then in the evening times, we'll have another musical, kind of either a pianist or we have a duo that's a guitarist and singer, and then we have a solo singer as well. And the 3 of them will rotate from the Expedition Lounge that we just talked about to the Constellation Lounge here, and then into the club, which is the next lounge that we'll. And the club, probably one of my favorite places. This is located in the aft of the vessel. This is really just utilized in the evening time. Again, another one of our musical entertainers will be here. And the highlight for me, between 6 and 9, we offer sushi complimentary. So if you're looking for a lighter dinner or you just want to enjoy some sushi and As an appetizer, you're welcome to come here and enjoy this venue. Then we have probably my favorite lounge on board the ship. This is the bow lounge. This is located deck 6 all the way forward. A really great space is it's indoor. You have the indoor lounge area, but you also have the full access to the outdoor bow of the ship. So when wildlife is spotted, the expedition team will be here. A lot of guests will come here. I always find myself in this area because you can go outside with your binoculars, look at wildlife, beautiful scenery, and you can come back inside and grab a coffee and whatnot. On the monitors that you see there, those are same images that the bridge is seeing. So the national officers, when they're changing maps or they're around, you see that in real time. And there's also some touch screen display there. For example, when we were up in the Arctic, we had the aurora forecast in there. So each day they could come up and check to see what the likely seeing the northern lights was that night. So that was great. And then during the slides throughout the voyage, we'll have navigation Q&A with the expedition team will be here interacting with our guests, explaining, seeing on the maps, answering any questions they may have. So it's a really great space here. And of course, I mentioned we have a coffee machine. We have during breakfast hours, the continental breakfast items, and then during the afternoon, which is over to jarred salad sandwiches, and then of course some soft drinks there for all to enjoy. And then being a luxury vessel, we have our spa, salon, and fitness center. Beautiful saunas, as you can see here, with windows out to the beautiful destinations. We have multiple treatment rooms for the spa, and a quite large, for the size of the ship, gym, a workout facility. And again, this has some outdoor space. So even if you're working out and you see some wildlife and you want to pop right back outside, you can do so right here from even inside the gym. And then, of course, our Zodiacs. So we have a full fleet of Zodiacs, enough to take all the guests off the ship at one time. And they're stored midship here on deck 9 and lowered down to the shell door when we get to our destination for the day. And then the expedition team will get in, do their scouting, and of course, all guests will utilize these to do Zodiac cruises, Zodiac landings, to get ashore, and that type of thing. So here we have, and I'll talk a bit more about the expedition team in a moment, but we'll likely have 10 to 12 guests in each Zodiac, and it's very comfortable, small group exploration of these destinations. Some of the suites on board. So this we're an all veranda suite ship. So we have this is our lead-in category, the veranda suite, including verandas, 355 square feet total. And then of course we have our interactive TV. I mentioned the Cineflex camera. We have navigational channels, live TV channels, movies. Really everything that you need in the in-suite entertainment system. And then, of course, a fantastic bed. It's probably one of the best, most comfortable beds that I've experienced in all my travels, which is really fantastic. And it's really warm and quite spacious. And probably one of my favorite suites on board is the Panorama Veranda Suite. It's beautiful, lots of natural light. You get this living room with a large bay window, floor-to-ceiling windows there to bring in natural light. But you also have your full veranda. And you actually have the bathtub in the bathroom, faces out the veranda, so you can enjoy a jacuzzi bath and taking in the destinations that we're sailing through. I also love that this is it's the only suite category that is not wall-to-wall carpeting. It has tile floor that looks like, the wood. And when we're in the polar regions, you can have the floors heated so that, to wake up with a warm floor is always a nice little feature added to the experience when traveling in the polar regions. Then we have our winter garden suite, which is our top suite on board. It's 2 stories. You have your beautiful living room, dining room area downstairs, and then upstairs is your bedroom area. And then you have floor-to-ceiling 2-story glass windows, so you get, again, a lot of great natural light. One of my favorite things when sailing in the polar regions is just taking in all the giant icebergs that are floating by as we're sailing. And so a lot of great viewpoints from this type of suite as well. I have to say, my favorite part of all the suites, every single suite has this warming closet. And it's really great no matter what destination we're in. So, of course, if we're up in the polar regions or down in Antarctica, I can tell you I personally use this. I was on one of the first outings one day in a Zodiac, And whether it's misting or a little rainy or just some splashing from being on the Zodiac, sometimes you get a little bit wet on your outer layer. So it was really great to come back and put the parka into this closet, turn it on, go get a cappuccino, enjoy some lunch. And then by the time the afternoon outing was being called, it was warm and dry. And I was very happy when going out in the afternoon. And then also I was able to spend a few days on board with Jerilyn and some of our other North American sales team members in the Caribbean as the ship was making its way south. And we had our fantastic day of caviar in the surf. After enjoying that, I came back to the ship, put my bathing suit and my water shoes in here, and they were dry and warm by the afternoon as well. So no matter where we're sailing in the world, this is a great feature. Again, these little unique differentiators that really makes the Seabourn expedition experience stand out on board the ship. But of course, the highlight of the expedition is going to be our expedition team. Really excited to have an expedition team of 26 people on every single voyage, which is really fantastic and one of the largest expedition teams in the industry. And that's really because we want to ensure that we have a wide variety of experts on board, and of course, keeping it small group exploration of about groups of 10. So we'll have everyone from ornithologists, glaciologists, historians, as I mentioned earlier. Of course, we have kayak guides for our kayak experiences. We have 2 submersibles on board, so we'll have submersible pilots, a really wide range of really knowledgeable and experienced people that have been in the industry for decades, have been out in these destinations for decades, and have really devoted their lives to their speciality that they will highlight for all of you on board the ship and ashore in these amazing destinations. Speaking of destinations, so as I mentioned, the ship is currently making her way south down to Antarctica. I really like this voyage. The first voyage of our Antarctic season this year, and again next year. This year is November 7th, but next year it'll be October 31st, is this really fantastic 18-day voyage that includes the Chilean fjords and the Antarctic Peninsula. So if you've been down to the peninsula before and you're looking to go back and have a little bit of a different itinerary, this is a great option, and you'll get the 2 beautiful destinations all in one. But once the season starts, we really have 2 main itineraries. We have our 12-day itinerary down to the peninsula, where of course we'll leave Ushuaia. All of our voyages that depart and return to Ushuaia have a 1-night pre-hotel stay in Buenos Aires, and then of course the round trip charter air, which makes getting down to this remote destination very easy. And then we'll sail out of Ushuaia down to towards the peninsula. Of course, either on the way down or the way back, we'll stop in the South Shetland Islands, which up here is little King George Island. That's the outer islands just north of the peninsula. Then we'll spend the rest of the time, about 5 days or so, depending on the itinerary, exploring the peninsula, doing continental landings, of course, so you can check that 7th continent off your list. We'll be exploring the penguin colonies, possible research stations, doing kayaking, the polar plunge, submersible operations, navigating some of the straits and bays and channels in this area, which I'll show you just a little bit about here. But I'm always asked about mobility and and agility in this type of destination. A lot of the landings ashore are wet landings. Of course, we provide the boots complimentary on board the ship, so you don't have to worry about that. But the landings here, you can see, right here on the beach, you have amazing wildlife. Here you have gentoo penguins. Of course, you can see the colony in the background. But right on the beach, the penguins are walking around, going in and out of the water. So you don't have to have the stamina to do long hikes or to go into the snow. Even if you just want to hang out on the beach, it's one of my favorite things to do. And just sit down and really take in the beautiful scenery and, of course, the wildlife. The penguins have no land predators, so when we arrive on shore, they're not afraid of us, and they pretty much go about their business. So I love to just grab a seat and take it all in and watch these amazing creatures, interact with each other, going in and out of the water, up and to their colony and back. And, of course, they make their noises and all of that. And it's just a really special experience just staying right there on the beach. And then also get asked about penguins and itineraries. So on this itinerary to the peninsula, there's 3 different penguin types you're likely to see. On the far right, that's the Gen 2 penguin. That's the most common. Almost guaranteed that you'll see the Gen 2 penguins while we're on this itinerary. And then in the middle, that's the Agility penguin that has the black head, and it's kind of hard to tell in the photo, but it's got a white circle around its eyes. That one's a little bit more rare, but you do see them scattered in sometimes with the Gen 2 penguins. And then on the far left, you have chin strap penguins. Of course, very easy to identify with the black line that looks like a chin strap. So those are the three most common ones. And then I'll talk about another itinerary where we'll have the opportunity to see the king penguins. Another great experience on this itinerary, of course, very dependent on weather, sea conditions, and the ice conditions, is navigating the Lemire Channel. This was actually taken last year when I was down there, mid-December. We were one of the first ships to be able to navigate the channel. As you can see, a lot of ice. It can be snowy, it can be foggy, and it's extremely narrow. But of course, it's a very exciting opportunity when we can do it. Sailing through, you have all the beautiful ice, and then as we're sailing through, you'll see seals hanging out on some of the larger pieces of ice. They'll kind of look up and kind of see what's going on, and then lay back down. They're curious, but of course, during the rest of the relaxation up there on the ice. But it's a really fantastic opportunity. The other itinerary that we offer down in Antarctica is our longer 21-day. So this will provide everything that I spoke about on the peninsula itinerary, but instead of returning back to Ushuaia at that point, we're going to continue to sail on to South Georgia. And this is really the gem of this itinerary, where it's St. Andrews Bay. We have, so again, that was St. Andrews Bay. It's a fantastic landing spot in South Georgia, where it has about 250,000 breeding pairs of king penguins. So king penguins are the second largest of the penguin species. So they're about 3 feet tall. And like I said, about 250,000 of them right there on the beach, straight at the moment. And then after spending a few days there, we're going to continue on to the Falkland Islands and Port Stanley, do some exploration there, see some more wildlife before returning back to Ushuaia. This is St. Andrews Bay, and you can see as far as the eye can see is king penguins. Of course, in the front there, the brown ones that look like kiwis, the little kiwi fruit. Those are the king penguin chicks. And then also on the beach here, you'll see the elephant seals and some of the smaller seals as well. So it's really one of those special moments that tend to stay with all who visit this region for their lifetime. After we complete this season in Antarctica, we're going to make our way north, following the east coast of South America, and then do some exploration into the Amazon, as far in as Iquitos, before turning around, coming back out, and then crossing the Atlantic over to Europe. We have some really fantastic voyages that are around the UK, to some smaller, less visited ports and landing sites and destinations, some great options to see some of the puffins. Of course, going over to Iceland, also a chance to see the puffins there. Over to Greenland, where we're looking at beautiful fjords, Scoresby Sound, one of the largest fjord systems in the world. Big, tall, dramatic glaciers, polar bear opportunities in this region. And then, of course, the whales and seals that this region also has. So really fantastic experiences. But we also, Greenland has many Inuit communities that we will visit. Having visited them myself, it's a really fantastic experience. These small communities are so far removed from the rest of the world, but they're always so warm and welcoming when we arrive to show us their town. They, of course, join us and our guests as we're exploring. They'll do cultural experiences. Typically, they'll have a cultural center, something to put that on for us as we are enjoying our day there. So whether you're looking for wildlife or you're looking for more cultural experiences with the Inuit communities, those options are available during our summer Arctic season. I thought I would share a couple of photos from this summer's Seabourn Adventures inaugural season up in the Arctic. Of course, wonderful wildlife that we saw. Amazing glaciers, icebergs, and then of course the small Inuit communities that we'll visit in Greenland. So really fantastic options. Of course, I mentioned we have submersibles on board. We have 2 6-passenger submersibles. And just a little bit about getting into them. They are lowered from the ship, as you can see here. They're actually driven away from the ship, and you get into one of our Zodiacs, and the Zodiac will drive out to the submersible, and then you'll step onto the top of the submersible that's in the water, and then it's about 3 steps down a pool step type ladder into it, so that you then can sit down. So it does take a little bit more mobility than, say, just getting in and out of the Zodiac or going ashore. But it's a really fantastic experience. I do always like to mention it is very weather dependent, of course, sea conditions, ice conditions. So some flexibility is needed, but it's a really fantastic enhancement to the expedition experience. And then, of course, we have a fleet of kayaks on board. They are double kayaks. And what's really fantastic, I mentioned as part of our expedition team, we have seasoned, experienced kayak guides that go with all of our kayak outings. So these professionals, they've kayaked in the Arctic, the Antarctic, Northwest Passage. And when we arrive to a destination, they'll take the Zodiac out and scout for the best area to do the kayaking. And then, of course, bring the guests out and enjoy that experience. It's about 2 hours. But it really is, it's so much nicer than just kayaking around by yourself. You have these experts with you to really bring the destination to life. And then I mentioned our landing zone. That's just we have 2 of them on board. That's where all of our guests go through to put on their boots to get into the Zodiacs, no matter which region we're in. We do provide in the polar regions the parka complimentary for all of our guests. And of course, you're welcome to keep that as a souvenir to your experience. You do order that on our website, and then it's in your suite upon arrival. And we do offer opportunities to exchange them the first day. So if you got a size and it doesn't fit quite right, there'll be opportunities to switch those out. And then we also provide some other options in the polar region. All of our guests will receive a beanie hat to keep warm. We also provide a dry bag, so you can put in anything you may have brought with you to ensure it stays nice and dry. And then, of course, again, going back to sustainability, we have no disposable plastics on board. So all of our guests will receive a Seabourn Expedition water bottle. And there's stations all throughout the vessel that have both still and sparkling water to fill your water bottle with. And then in every suite, we have Swarovski binoculars for guests to use. Really fantastic, high quality brand. I've used them myself. A lot of our expedition team, that is their brand of choice, and so that's what they use. So those will be in the suite. Those, of course, have to stay behind along with the boots, but we do provide them. The parka, the hat, the dry bag, and the water bottle in the polar regions, of course, are yours to keep. And then when we're in the warmer weather regions, we just provide the water bottle for all of our guests to use and enjoy. So I'm going to show a quick video, and then I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And so let's take a look at this. It always gives me goosebumps when I watch these videos of the amazing destinations combined with the luxury onboard experience of Seabourn Venture. With that, I thank you again for your time, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mark. There's definitely a lot in there to take a look at. So, you talked a bit about the different destinations. Like in terms of your favorite destination, like of all the different expedition itineraries, is there one that you think really just like tickles you a little bit more than the others?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard. I think the two polar regions, the Arctic and the Antarctic, are definitely neck and neck. They offer different things and them for different reasons. The Arctic, I love, of course, seeing polar bears is something that, obviously you don't see every day, and it's one of those moments that really stick with you. But going back again to the Inuit communities of Greenland and the Canadian Arctic, it's really special to meet those people and get to know their culture. So that's always very nice. But at the Antarctic, of course, it's almost like you're on a different planet when you get down to the peninsula. And then the wildlife that surrounds you is nonstop. So it's a toss-up between the two, but definitely amazing destinations.
Wonderful. Now, Jerilyn, I know you recently went on the venture as well, right? And this is your first time in Antarctica?
I have not been to Antarctica yet. That is a bucket list for me.
Oh, but you were on the venture though.
Yes, we had our sales meeting on what we call a seasonal migration. So Mark was on the ship up in Greenland, and then we left out of Newfoundland, not us, the ship. And then the sales team joined when the ship arrived in San Juan. And we did 4 nights from San Juan down to Barbados, which was the end of that migration voyage from Newfoundland down to the Caribbean. Yeah. So I got to do the warm weather part of the venture. Use that waterproof bag though. It works like a charm. You can put your beach towel in it. And the warming closet in suite was ideal because, I had a damp bathing suit and those water shoes, and I just put it in there overnight. And the next morning I'm like, oh, dry bathing suit. So like Mark said, no matter what region you're in, the features on board can be used. And the food was phenomenal, and the accommodations are just gorgeous. It feels, even in the Caribbean, it has a different feel because it's such a smaller vessel, and it's almost a 1-to-1 crew ratio to guests. So the service was impeccable.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So you have now sailed on this, and you've sailed, of course, on other non-expedition ships. Like, what do you, even if you're in, let's say, a non-expedition destination, right? Like, what would you say, Jerilyn, is the main difference? Like, what if you're sailing an expedition ship, what's the biggest difference that you notice first within the onboard experience?
Good question. I think, again, space per guest, because there's fewer guests on board, and yet it's super roomy. I noticed when I walked on board, like the elevator lobbies and walking, even in the hallways, you didn't feel like you were on a smaller vessel. What I also liked is that you get to know the crew fast because, there are 256 guests at most on board, and on our voyage, there were less. So it's that immediate kind of guest to crew relationship that forms. And I said that in my opening remarks about Ocean. We brought that whole feeling that is a seaborne experience to expedition now on a smaller vessel. So to me, it's like even more intimate and more immersive. Mark, I don't know if you have anything more to add, because you sailed longer than I did.
No, and I think one of the things that I really enjoy about an expedition is it's flexible. It's not like on the ocean ships, you pretty much know which port you're going to be in from what time to what time. But even in like the non-polar regions, an expedition itinerary with venture can be flexible. And at first glance, it might be a little unnerving to maybe not have a single detail, but it's usually that flexibility that creates moments that really stand out for the guests and make their whole trip. Whether it's seeing wildlife, we saw a pod of beluga whales one time, and we just stopped the ship, hung out there for a little bit. It's that type of experience that I really think at first glance is maybe unnerving, like I said, but really creates the most amazing experiences.
And Mark, do you want to talk a little bit about the polar class certification and the capability the ship has with the ice cutting? Because I think that's remarkable, and that's a clear difference, to answer Roger's question about going on like a regular cruise ship in these Arctic regions versus a polar class ship. Do you want to expound on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the ships are certified PC6. That's just the certification rating that allows us to operate in summer and autumn first year ice, which basically we can operate in these polar regions. So the Arctic going through the Northwest Passage, going down to Antarctica. We have no problems navigating ice within the water. Of course, it's not an icebreaker, which most ships are not icebreakers, but that's not needed to operate these itineraries. We just need to be able to navigate the ice or the first year ice that is again as the seasons change. But it allows us to navigate these channels. I talked about the mirror channel. It allows us to go into if there's pack ice, we can actually put the ship into the pack ice and open up the shell door, and you can walk right out. Of course, that's not a guarantee. It just depends on weather conditions and the ice conditions. But it basically, there are no limitations to the ship in sailing in these polar regions, just shy of being an icebreaker.
Roger, you're muted.
All right, hang on. Sorry about that. Everybody can hear me now? Okay, great. That's a lot of great information. Thank you guys for that. Now, I did want to go over the fact that we do have a special offer for you guys. If you make the reservation between now and October 31st for almost just about every 2023 sailing, if you make a reservation on Seabourn, especially on Expedition, but pretty much any of the Seabourn sailings that we have, we're going to be giving you an additional $250 in shipboard credit, courtesy of Crown Cruise Vacations, on top of what your normal offer would ordinarily be. If you make your reservation, you just have to let them know that you're doing this on the because of you were attending this virtual cruise event. And yeah, so it's a pretty nice offer, an extra $250 just for coming and learning about Seabourn, which is pretty great.
Absolutely.
And there's lots of ways that you can spend it on yourself. You can do a shore excursion, customized on our ocean adventure. You can put it toward the submersible ride on the Venture that Mark talked about, or you can stay on board and get a spa treatment.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, or you can just get a massage.
You can do a massage. So lots of ways.
Can never go wrong with that.
That's right. So awesome. All right. Well, excellent. Listen, I want to thank everybody for spending their evening with us. And of course, Mark and Jerilyn, thank you so much. There was so much to learn here and such good information. Really got a lot out of this.
Well, thank you, Roger, again, for hosting us and for putting on this event.
Of course. Well, thank you guys very much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Have a great evening, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.